Well, we're at the top of the hour, folks. This is your host, Eric Lamar, of A Whole New Me Show. I want to welcome you at Sunday evening. Glad you're spending your Sunday with us. And please make sure that your loved ones or anyone you care about has been invited to check out what we're going to be talking about tonight. As you all know, as the host of this show, I'm also the guinea pig of the show because we're talking about a whole new me transformation. If you don't know, I am Eric Lamar, and I'm going through a personal transformation. And this is a weight release journey that I'm going on. I hope you're going to learn some things through the show and through subsequent shows that the things that I talk about and the language that I use, I want to make sure that you can appreciate this. So, understanding that everything in society is energy, everything in life and the universe is energy. So, losing weight, it really is that's not the proper terminology we're going to use, but we're going to release the weight. But we're actually, and tonight I'm going to be talking about, we're going to transfer the energy of undesired fat insulation that our bodies are holding. And we're going to be talking about through this process and journey of how to employ this fat into fat burning, and we're going to give it a job. So we're going to deploy our soldiers to go inside of our body and take these fat cells and throw them in the furnace to start creating fuel that the body's going to use. And so this is something that's super, super exciting. But tonight's show is one you don't want to miss. I've looked forward to bringing this young lady onto my show because she is a very special, dear person to me, and a very important person and part of this journey. So you're going to get to meet a little bit later, once we get through all of our intros and so forth, Lauren Matos, my certified health counselor, who is my personal coach. But we're going to be talking about breaking food addictions tonight. So you want to stay tuned for that. Let's just remind you where you're watching this. If you're watching this on your Facebook page or on your phone or your tablet and so forth, right above the top of the screen, there is some share buttons. Please share this information out to your social networks, to Google Plus, to Twitter, and to Facebook. Invite your friends in, particularly anyone that you know that is struggling and is unhappy, would like to overcome this challenge of unwanted extra fat insulation and unwanted pounds and so forth. We're going to be talking about how to help these individuals with this challenge and so forth. And I'm going to ask you to join in and follow the journey that I'm on. Down below, you're seeing now, this is going to be the official page. At the top, you're seeing the show. But then last week's kickoff show, if you want to review that, is the video beneath where you were streaming live today. And then below that video are about 6 different spaces. These are spaces that are getting filled up with the live events or the recordings of sessions that I have with those that are on my medical team. And just to recap from the kickoff show last week, you were introduced to Lauren Matos, which you're going to get to hear from her tonight. She's, again, helping me with the mental aspect of preparing my mind for this journey and overcoming hurdles. Then you were able to meet my personal trainer, Chandra V. You got to meet my doctor of Oriental medicine, which is Dr. Denicia Hilton. She helps me with acupuncture and other herbal solutions and formulas. Then you did not get to meet Dr. Jason Cherry, but he's my personal chiropractor. That is so important because as I train and release this weight, making sure that my nervous system and my skeletal system and the muscles are all communicating and things are adjusted properly. So he's a very key person that's on my team. And then Diana Brothers is my massage therapist. You also got to meet Dr. Melita Tate. She's been my medical doctor for some years, and she gives me a lot of coaching and a lot of direction to make sure that I am doing this thing in a very healthy way. So again, you're watching Eric Lamar, host of A Whole New Me Show. And tonight we're going to be talking about food addictions and overcoming these addictions. So let's dive right into this. I want to welcome our guest on our show tonight, a dear friend, but a very important person on my team, Ms. Lauren Matos. Lauren, good evening. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about you?
You know, I'm well. I'm excited. I'm glad you're here.
Awesome.
This is a very important show we're going to be talking about tonight. I remember sitting in your office, just to give everyone a little bit of history, and I shared with you about this vision that I had. I said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm creating a show documenting my transformation, but I'm going to encourage and bring others along. And I was telling you about the medical team that I brought along and so forth. And you all of a sudden sat back in your chair and you said, how are you dealing with food addictions? And I said, you kind of stumped me there for a second. So I want to thank you for really mentioning that particular issue and sharing your expertise.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how you got into doing what you're doing.
I've been a licensed mental health counselor for about I've been licensed about 3 years now, doing counseling overall about 5. And I actually started out my career working with addicts. So I'm very familiar with what an addiction is and what it's not, and what it looks like. Through the process, I learned some other fancy, therapy techniques that I know can enhance recovery from addiction. And which I find is interesting that you used "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," because that phrase actually comes from Alcoholics Anonymous. That's where it started.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah,
great.
how much of that language is actually kind of seeped into our everyday kind of use. So you can kind of tell how prevalent addiction is in our society. And I've learned that you can become addicted to just about anything. It's really more of a behavior thing than it is a chemical thing. So that's why I asked you.
Yeah, well, and I find that as I work with everyone that's on my team, I mean, I train twice a week with Chandra V, which has been great. And those trainings have gotten more and more intense. Just to give you an update, as I weighed in last week, and first of all, I want everyone to understand that I am in a marathon with this transformation. I'm 43 years of age. I've been larger than everyone in my age bracket at school and so forth ever since I started first grade. So this has not been a journey that, it's been 37 years of my life that I've struggled with this challenge. And so I'm not trying to achieve my goal in a matter of 6 months. I really am not. So when I start sharing with you the numbers, I don't want anyone to get discouraged, but this is the journey that I've chosen. So we're down 4 pounds last week. I committed to a water intake of at least 100 ounces a day, and we're doing that. I fill up my 75-ounce jug in the morning. I go to my club, and they give me a nice big pitcher, a craft of water that, they go around refilling and so forth, and they make that infused with oranges and limes. So I want to thank the Center Club of Tampa and all the staff that work there that are supporting me. They keep the cookies away from me and the sugars. And so Dr. Tate has got me really focused on no sugar. And that's been really going well. I've been off alcohol, had no alcohol. Well, I did have a small amount of alcohol last Sunday. So again, this is confessions. This is telling the truth. This is just sharing everything. But in the last 2 weeks, that is the only amount of alcohol that I've had, and I don't plan on moving forward with any of that. So we're going to go. My goal is 90 days without alcohol. So I like to put that out there. We're down 4 pounds. My endurance has increased. My balance is getting better working with Chandra. And so that's been amazing. And then our sessions have been truly, truly amazing. And I'll go into some of that information here as we share as well. So just wanted to provide that update, and I'm looking forward to another great week. I went to Sam's today, and I brought bought a ton of fruit, a lot of grapes, peaches, coconut water, and so my hydration is going to be great. It's going to be fun. As a matter of fact, I should have brought one of my waters so I can have it here on the show with us tonight, but they're cooling in the refrigerator. So, but so again, I want to thank you for at least mentioning that to me, because after you mentioned that, we started going through some sessions talking about my addictions, and a couple of the addictions that I mentioned that we discovered was Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
and pork chops.
Yeah.
So, I just have to shake my head. You know, the Kool-Aid's gone. Haven't had Kool-Aid in now probably close to a month. Matter of fact, got rid of the sugar. I don't even have sugar in the house, so I can't even really make the Kool-Aid unless I want to make it without sugar. Pork chops, well, at least I understand what's going on there. We're not having them as much. I will say that. I was pretty much having them probably 3 or 4 times a week, and now I'm down to maybe once a week.
Right. And, you know, it's not even about whether you have it or don't have it. It's why you're having it, and if you can have it without the compulsion to, like, continue, you know, off the charts. Like, you know, so instead of having a reasonable number of pork chops, you're, like, finishing an entire pan because there's some emotional connection that you're having to this pork chop. That need is being filled as well as your hunger, and that's really what we're watching out for.
So you mentioned a need. So let's dive into this addiction issue, because let's break this down. There's 2 important questions that I would like for you to address. And number 1 is, how does one recognize, first of all, that they have an addiction?
Right. So the way that I and most other addiction professionals we define addiction is something that you're doing over and over again despite negative consequences. So you know that engaging in this behavior or taking a drug or using an alcohol beverage or, you know, whatever it is, you're continuing to do that despite negative consequences to you. So and food can be very addictive. Food, we know, can chemically mimic a lot of drugs of abuse in our brain. So for instance, sugar is a big one. You know, pretty much all of us are addicted to sugar in one way or another. And a lot of us continue to consume high sugar things despite negative consequences, which may be weight gain. It may be poor numbers on your health screenings. Maybe you become diabetic. I mean, there are many ways in which sugar can be harmful to you. But if you can't stop yourself from indulging, then that may be an indication that there is an addiction present.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So basically, you're looking out for things that you find yourself doing over and over and over again, even though it's harming you. And that would be an indication of an addiction.
Okay. So then how then, if we back up, once we recognize it, then how does it form in the first place?
Well, there's a certain theory that I'm working from. It's called the feeling state addiction protocol theory. It's a little bit new as far as the addiction world goes. But basically what happens is when you experience probably the first few experiences with your object of abuse, so whether it's our object of addiction, I'm sorry, so whether that's your pork chops or your Kool-Aid, or for somebody else might be cocaine or whatever, that use, that behavior creates a very intense, pleasurable feeling for the person. And it's a feeling that is typically missing for them in any other way. So, for instance, when we talked about Kool-Aid, for you it was like, I survived the day. I can't remember what some of your other ones were, but you know, there were some strong feelings attached to the Kool-Aid. And similarly with the pork chops, we found that you felt like you accomplished something by making a pork chop that tasted, amazing to you and to others. And so we have this strong attachment of acceptance and feeling like you are the go-to guy, for cooking these pork chops. And those are some very strong, deep, positive feelings that are now associated in our minds with this object. So with pork chops or with Kool-Aid.
So I want to interject here real quick. Folks, number one, I want to make sure that you understand that Lauren has my permission. And the reason I'm doing this show is that I am putting myself out there for the bit, not only just my benefit, but for anyone out here who is dealing with this issue of uncomfortableness with their weight and wanting to do something about it. And so I have given her complete permission to talk about the things that we do. Please understand that this is someone that can help you, but confidentiality is at the top of what she does. So if you were to work with her, I don't want you to think that she's going to be on a show like this talking about you. She's only on this show because I've invited her and I am putting my information out there because I hope that by sharing my information that it inspires and it touches someone else. So if there's something in my life that I feel that is just too super private and it's not shared, then you won't hear it. But if you hear it on here, it's because I want it out there and I want it to touch another life. So I just wanted to put that out there because I wanted to go into some explanation, deeper explanation of what we found out in talking with me about these feelings that I have related to recognition. So when we come back, real quick, I want to, into our next segment, we're going to dive into that particular piece as well. This is Eric Lamar, again, your host of the A Whole New Me show, and I'd like to welcome you to the show if you've just joined us. Tonight we're talking with licensed mental health counselor Lauren Matos, which again, she's my mental therapy coach. That's one of the members of my medical team. I have a medical team that consists of a chiropractor, a doctor of Oriental medicine, a massage therapist, a medical doctor, a mental therapy counselor, and a personal trainer, and a paleo-style kitchen called Fresh Kitchen in the Tampa Bay area. I encourage you to visit. If you look in the comment feeds below all of the video feeds, there's a comment section. You'll see all these individuals' contact information and so forth that you can connect with these medical professionals. I've assembled this team, and this approach that I'm taking to releasing weight, the way that I'm doing it, is what's called a holistic approach. I am approaching this from a mind, body, and spirit approach. I'm not doing any particular diet. I'm just simply eating smart. So between my medical doctor, my personal trainer, they've outlined a nutritional program that I should be following. I try to document, and I promise Chandra I'm doing my best to improve and making sure that I document my meals and so forth so that you can give me the best help available. And then I go to my massage therapist so that I can recover from the trainings, because I started this journey weighing 337 pounds. So I'm not going to get out here and try to break records and lose 50 pounds in a month or 2 months, because I don't want it to injure me and set me back several months. So I'm taking this very, very slow. Honestly, I have about an 18-month goal that I would like to average around 10 pounds per month. And that will really put me over my goal. So my goal is 150 pounds that I want to release, and I'm giving myself 18 months to do that. So again, parts of this may go fast, parts of it will go slow, but we're not getting discouraged, because for 37 years, I've fought this challenge. And so now we're going to really do it and embrace a team. So you're watching tonight. We're talking about the challenge of food addictions. And Lauren has addressed, number one, how to recognize addictions, and number two, how addictions form. So we were talking about some of my addictions, and again, I am using myself as the guinea pig. So number one, I appreciate all the support and encouragement, but if this story touches others' lives that can relate, that's the bigger goal. So Lauren, we were talking about my addiction, particularly to the pork chop. It's really not so much the pork chop, but it was the feeling, and it's
Right,
the sense
right.
of satisfaction.
Yep.
Go back and touch on that a little bit, and then let's talk about some of the other things you discovered that goes all the way back to childhood.
Hmm. Yeah, most of our memories that either bother us or have led to these kind of addictive behaviors, they started in our early childhood. In fact, I can give you probably a better example from my own life. I know that I have a, for sure, addiction to sugar. And when I started learning how to use the feeling state protocol, I used that as part of my training. And I focused on, I love ice cream. Like I could never, be in a room with an ice cream in it and not want to eat it. And through the process, I was able to trace it back to when I was in like 5th grade. I used to play for this softball team that was sponsored by Carvel Ice Cream. And every time we won a big game, they would let us go to the ice cream shop and pick out whatever we wanted. And so attached, you can see how easily a positive, really strong positive feeling can become attached to something like ice cream because it felt like we won, I'm a winner, I'm important, and I did something really good. And now all of a sudden when I need that feeling, I know ice cream could provide it for me. So similarly to you, when you want to feel like you've accomplished something, maybe, if you had a particularly stressful week, you know that if you make those pork chops, you're going to feel accomplished. You're going to feel like you created something that, other people want. You were the go-to guy for that. And that usually comes from our past. And so I remember asking you, where you thought in your past that might have come from.
Well, and then in that, you also asked a question that just made light bulbs go off as we were sitting there in the session. And you asked me a question about my childhood, and you asked specifically if I had siblings. And then since I had siblings, where I ranked as a child. And so I'm a middle child. And so as we went through that, which I know is a session that we've got to go back and complete, but what it really opened up for me, and that I'm starting to release, because I have issues related to my parents growing up, that I had some challenges.
Sure.
And then the fact that I didn't feel in my childhood understood or completely appreciated by my parents, particularly my father. I've struggled with those issues even as an adult, and I try to reprimand myself for saying, okay, you're 43 years old, get over it, man up, suck it up. He's not going to change, so you need to change. But then understanding and going back and realizing these causes of why, even with the pork chops, and I'm sure we're going to identify other issues that I haven't thought about,
right?
That it's manifesting itself through that. And so when I taste it, I just keep going. But the beginning part of just starting with the pork chops, because of I played with the recipe and this recipe turned out great, it was the pat on the back, it's the recognition, but it goes back to the feeling of lack of recognition.
Right, it's the thing that you were missing all along, and for some reason your brain has decided to associate that getting that need accomplished with that object, which for you is pork chops, or for somebody else might be another object of addiction. That's why, I know that addiction is a trauma disease. It starts with trauma early on in life. And when people hear the word trauma, they sometimes just think that means, somebody who was abused or was in combat or was in a terrible accident. But the truth is that these small traumas, like these slights or being made fun of by somebody, getting bullied at school, or having parents that don't pay attention to you, those smaller things can add up to big things and can can impact our lives much the same way. And so when you have a deficit, you have a kind of like a perfect storm for creating these kinds of feeling states that are attached to things that they don't belong attached to. So that's when we assess you for these addictions, we go back to find out where they started from.
Right. So that was so enlightening for myself as we've gone through this. And so this is why I've said, and a lot of folks have heard me say this, I appreciate and I love each and every one of the professionals that are on my team that I've contracted with to help me through this journey. But as of right now, the work that I'm doing with you is super, super important. To me. I feel is extremely important. And for anyone else that is going through this challenge, once you understand a lot of the reasons and the roots that are causing the stuff that we throw through here that manifests itself through the rest of this, once we can get this part up here right, then we'll become more conscious of what we start putting here. And then we can set the goals, we can set the ambitions and the momentum and everything else to follow to get it done. Because even if I train well with Chandra, even if I got acupuncture, even if I went to the chiropractor and all of those things, and I'm losing, I could eventually blow right back up. And it has happened over and over and over. Now, when I recognize these addictions, anything that comes up, whether it's pork chop or whether it's something else, I can go ask myself, why am I doing this?
Yeah, you know, what you're craving is usually a key thing, because there, you know, if you're really, really strongly craving something, it may be that there is a feeling attached to that thing. And as you're going through a lifestyle change, that's pretty stressful, even if it's something you want. And I know that, you know, it's not uncommon for people to sabotage themselves. I mean, that's a common thing to hear, self-sabotage. And we generally get in our own way. And so that's why I think it's important to include, I'm glad you did, a mental health person on your team for this, because, you know, it's just as much a mind game as it is a body game to get through something like this.
Absolutely. And there is a person that I have forgotten that I've added to the team, and her name is Sarah Gehring. She's a yoga instructor, and I'll be starting yoga tomorrow. So you'll be able to catch a live stream session of yoga. But again, now that I'm getting this put in the right perspective, everything else that I'm starting to do behind this is just going to add to the momentum. I'm going to get more flexibility because Lord knows the training that I did with Chandra, hey, just let me tell everybody, she did a fantastic job, but it's my body that's having its own challenge keeping up with the training. And even though I'm training 2 days a week, and for some people, it may not look like I'm doing a whole lot, my body is saying, man, you move some weight around. And I had a hip pointer Thursday afternoon. Friday, I didn't get out of bed till 12:30. And it wasn't her fault. It's just understanding my body and taking this thing one step at a time. Once I drop, 20, 30 pounds, we can start really kicking it in gear and getting out here and going crazy with some things. But and this is why I keep the chiropractor in place, because there's a lot of weight being moved around. So the joints, the bones, everything is stressed during this piece. So again, what I've done here, if you want to follow this example, please connect with the experts that I'm using. I trust these individuals with my life, my emotions, because to achieve a whole new me, it takes a team. I couldn't get it done by myself over the last 37 years. So there's no reason why individuals, we all need to feel like we're superhuman and we're going to just tackle this thing. and you listen to some motivational CDs and you just get out here and just do it. If that works for you, great. But if it hasn't worked for you, I've got a whole team of people. I want you to connect with my team. And one of the people that I would love for you to connect with, Lauren, I'd like for you to share your information, and then I'll make sure to put it in the chat, and I'll put it up on the video. It'll flash up for those that are catching the replay. But if you would, provide us with your website and your phone numbers, how people can contact you and get scheduled in to at least sit down and talk with Lauren. Talk with her, because you'll be amazed at some of the things that she can help you with. Give us that information, if you would, please.
Sure. My website is www.forwardrecovery.net. And you can reach me by phone, 813-765-1250. And I do offer 15-minute free phone consultations, so you can call me up and we can see what we can do to help you. And that part will be completely free.
Take advantage of this. Whatever she's offering, take advantage of it. Mention that you watch the A Whole New Me show, and you'll definitely be in good hands. Lauren, I want to thank you for coming on, being a guest tonight, and sharing your expertise and just sharing my story and the professional opinion of what's going on. I'm not really, really crazy, folks, but I do have a few challenges that need professional help, and I'm glad to be getting this. It feels so good, and I'm so excited to have the progress that I'm making, the clarity, the understanding, and again, this is about becoming a whole new me. So thank you for joining us tonight. And are there any other words that you want to share with our listeners regarding food addictions?
Really, it's just about paying attention to how you are thinking and how you are feeling when you're engaging in behaviors. Are you truly hungry, or are you trying to satisfy some other need? And that's a first clue that maybe you might need some extra help in that area in order to get to your health goals. Yeah, and if you're not sure if your issue is an addiction, just give me a call and we'll talk about that.
Absolutely. Again, folks, this has been another great episode. I'm Eric Lamar, your host of A Whole New Me, and I thank you for peeking in on this journey. Please share this information out. If you're watching this as a replay, right up above, again, you can tweet this out. You can send it out in your Google Plus or even into your Facebook environment. Share with your peers. Share with anyone you know that wants to change their life. Join in on this journey. Rally behind. I'll be doing yoga tomorrow at, we're going to be making a change. It was posted at 5 o'clock, but it's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to watch this, going to be live streamed. My very first yoga session. So I want to encourage you to tune in on that. And if you have to laugh, post it, laugh, share, because what I can't do tomorrow, I guarantee, give me 30 days, I'll be doing some amazing things when it comes to yoga, because I have a great instructor that's going to be helping out with that. Check out the recordings for workouts. I'll be posting that up next Tuesday will be the next training. You can catch the one from last Thursday down below. And I tell you what, we are into week 3 of this journey. And so I want to thank you for your support. Lauren, thank you for your support as well. And we'll see you at our next episode.